All right. Travis, thanks for being here. Really excited to talk to you about property management. Do you mind just kind of introducing yourself? What market are you in? How long you been in business? How big's the company? Walk us through who you are.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jeremy, for having me on. Travis Bohling. I'm the co-founder of Home Ladder. We're based in Gilbert, Arizona. We're a property management and real estate investment firm. We started just over 1 year ago, so we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary. So we're
Congratulations.
excited about that.
And Gilbert is close to Phoenix, correct?
Yeah, we cover the Phoenix metro market. Yep.
Great. Okay, got it. And door count or size? You want to share
We're
on
yeah, we're roughly at 230 doors right now.
Okay. 230 doors in a year is great. And my understanding, this is not your first foray into property management. You and your business partner have been in the business for a while, correct?
Yeah, this is my 24th year in property management. Started out doing student rentals in college and fell in love with it. I've stuck with it ever since. This is the second property management company that I've bootstrapped. So little experience, but also learning a lot of new things this time around. So, yep.
It's a strange affliction to fall in love with property management. I don't always hear
That's
that.
what I'm told. Everyone says I fell into it, but no, I've been on a mission.
I love it. All right. And you have a business partner, Brandon,
Yeah,
and
Brandon.
you guys have been working together how long?
Brandon and I have been working together now for 7 years. Yeah.
Multiple companies, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And so Home Ladder, who does Home Ladder serve? Give me the USP, give me the pitch. Who is Home Ladder serving?
Yeah, so our target customer is really the aspirational or the intentional investor that has property in the Phoenix area. And then final thing is they have to have a sense of humor, right? Like that's our ideal customer.
I love it. I love it. Not enough people think through personality traits, right? So I always like to say when you're talking to a customer, you're qualifying two things. You're qualifying the property and you're qualifying the owner. And not enough people think about the owner qualification. So I
Yeah.
actually think is the most important thing.
Real estate is so tough, especially property management, and it can wear on you. And if you don't have a sense of humor, you're probably not cut out for the long term to be a landlord. So that's who we want to work with.
Excellent. Well, this is great. It is a people business, right? Which I think is really the heart of that.
Yeah.
All right. So the reason I reached out to you is because I follow you on LinkedIn and your business partner and got to know you guys. And as I was saying before the call, I feel like the social media posts that I see keep our relationship going, even though you and I are not jumping on a Zoom call every week and I don't get to see as much as I'd like to. I love it. And the sense of humor really came into play. So what drives that? What was the thought behind that? Did you and Brandon get together and say we need a social media presence because we just had to check the box? Like, what was the thinking? Why are you creating all this fun content on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I guess for LinkedIn specifically, that goes back to my previous experience at Mind Property Management. I was in a role where I was trying to recruit a nationwide team of property managers, and I was struggling. Like our recruiting team just wasn't bringing me the candidates that I knew were out there, that I knew were working for other property management companies. So I'm like, I've got to be, and I'm not on social media personally, like I haven't been for a long time. And so it was a stretch for me to go on LinkedIn, but I knew it was crucial if I wanted to get the word out to the best property managers out there of the great things that we were doing at Mind and to attract them to come to our company. So that's what got me started on LinkedIn. And I saw the amazing benefits of it as I was able to find these great employees across the country that had never heard of me or Mind, but then they saw a post that I had put up and they reached out and they're like, how can I join the revolution? So that's what sold me on social media and just the power that it has to reach people that have never heard of you, never even thought of searching for you. So ever since I've been a big believer in LinkedIn and the other social media platforms for not only getting engagement but also just getting awareness up right about your brand.
So I think I only really follow you on LinkedIn. Where else should I be following you? When you say other platforms, where else are you guys active?
Yeah, so LinkedIn's our biggest one, but we also post on YouTube. So we post on there daily. We're on Facebook and then Instagram.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure you got +1 followers on all those platforms coming up
I guess
next.
also Bigger Pockets too. Everyone forgets about Bigger Pockets, but that's a true social media platform for our target audience, right? We're going after landlords. So I go on Bigger Pockets every morning and I search the forums and there's amazing conversations going on Bigger Pockets,
Okay.
and very little representation from property managers out there.
All right, quick detour because this could be a whole article on its own. But we, a lot of our clients have really come to me and said, "Hey, when I ask about their origin story, they're like, yeah, I built this business on Bigger Pockets." So, sounds like you have a lot of experience there as well. What does that mean to you? Like, you need to be on Bigger Pockets. Are you answering questions? Are you creating new threads? Like, what are you doing? Let's just focus on that for a quick second because that could be the gem.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a OG Bigger Pockets guy. I've been on Bigger Pockets since 2011, but I was primarily on Bigger Pockets as a consumer of information for the first decade. Like I was just on the forums reading the advice that people were giving out about real estate investing, landlording, and different topics like that. So I just consumed the information for over a decade. It's just recently that I've maybe gotten um, I guess the desire to go on there and start posting my own organic content, but also just answering simple questions that people have where I either see people giving wrong advice to landlords or investors out there, or I see no answers given. And I'm like, well, this is a simple question. I can answer this. So I just spend a couple minutes each day surfing and seeing if I can add value to people out there.
So are you mostly just responding to other people? You're basically being a good steward of the community and
Yeah.
responding to everybody else. I
Yep.
love it. I don't know if you've heard this joke, but this is great for social media. And I'll get it wrong. When I saw the meme, it was posted so well. But basically said if you want an answer to a question, don't ask the question, post the wrong answer because you'll get 10 times the responses to it if you post the wrong answer. And isn't that the way social media works? Like
Yep.
everyone's quick to correct everybody.
Oh, definitely, for sure.
It's like I ask a question, I have zero comments. I post the wrong answer and I have 40 comments, you know?
Tons of engagement. Yeah.
Yes, there's really some truth to that, which is why I
Yeah.
think it's so funny.
Yep.
Okay, so that's amazing. So you're on Bigger Pockets. I'm guessing I've heard for some of my clients, you're probably answering questions all over the country, even if you have no benefit of getting business, but then you're probably really locked in on your area, right? Do you have like alerts or anything? Like, are you just kind of scrolling and just being a kind of a helpful person? Like, what does it look like when you log on? What are you looking for?
Yeah, definitely. So I do two things when I log in. I have followed locations. So I follow the Phoenix Metro specifically. So that's any type of question centered around Phoenix that I'll see in my feed. And then the other thing I do is I follow categories. So I follow the landlording and property investing categories. So that's where I feel like I can add the most value and answer questions. So those are the two things I look at each morning.
Great. Have you been on the Bigger Pockets podcast?
No. Mm-mm.
I total sidebar. Mark has a mutual client. I've met some of them because I'm talking to them about different things. They're always looking for guests. So
Mm.
just a sidebar, you should reach out and say, hey, I'd love to be on the show. I'd love to talk about what's happening in the Arizona market, what I've learned.
Yeah.
Especially with your background of like, hey, I've been at a big company, I've been at a local company. I actually you would get picked up immediately. So reach out to David Green. And if you need an intro, I know some people that know him well, but I think you should totally be on that. And that's going to be a huge marketing piece for you.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. He's going to be at Broker Owner. Did you see he's the keynote speaker?
I did not. No,
Yeah.
that's great. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay. Never met him, but we communicate a lot on Instagram, actually.
Yep.
And I have several clients that have been on the show. So that's fantastic. Then I'll hang out with him and Broker Owner. I'll make sure I message him. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah. I'm going to try and get on his show.
Yeah, you got to get on there.
Yeah, definitely.
And use that. You're going to Broker Owner, right? So you should reach
Yeah.
out and be like, hey, I'm going to be in Amelia Island. Let's connect. Yeah, he'll take you up. I mean, the need for guests is real, right? So yeah, reach out and that'll totally work. Okay, great. So total sidebar on Bigger Pockets, which I really love that you brought up because I don't think enough people, like I say, I'm always saying not enough people think about YouTube as a social media network. You just helped me understand not enough people think about Bigger Pockets as a social network. We always just think about LinkedIn and Facebook and the big ones.
Yeah.
Right. So what I heard you say that I made a note on is you said, hey, I'm not really on social media myself. So you're not really a big consumer. You're not going on and seeing what your friends are doing or posting photos of, the weekend barbecue or the family vacation, but you're still going out there and creating content. And so I think it's really interesting. I think a lot of people can relate to that Because people think, oh, because I'm not a consumer of social media content, I shouldn't be on there. So what is it like now? Now that you've been posting, do you still check in? Are you still commenting back on people's comments? Have you become more of a consumer because you're posting? Like, walk me through what that dynamic looks like.
I have been. I've kind of caught the bug, kind of what you were talking about, how you only see people maybe a couple times a year, especially in the property management industry. And with my experience, I've forged so many connections across the country with so many different people that I don't get to see on a regular basis anymore. So I've come to really enjoy that aspect of social media in terms of connecting with people on a regular basis that I don't get to see in person as frequently as I would like to. So yeah, definitely, it's uh, I guess expanding my perspective from a business relationship has led to me maybe transitioning my mind on how to handle it on a personal level too. So yeah.
But that's a really good clarification. So personally, you're not really building a big network on Facebook with your friends or Instagram. It's really more I'm posting and then I'm seeing what my colleagues are doing, and that's fun for me. And hey, if I see another property manager post X, then I should actually use that as inspiration for a video for me. Am I getting it right? You're really not doing what most people are using social media for. You're really using it under a professional guise on all the platforms. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. And are you doing what I just kind of mentioned? Or are you are you following other property managers and seeing what they're doing? Or is everything you guys are doing completely original?
Oh no, we definitely follow property managers out there. I love like Jennifer Ruelens. I love like she does a lot of the humorous videos, which I really get a kick out of those. In terms of I follow a lot of funny realtors out there. The realtors have us property managers beat in terms of content. There's a lot of really funny content creators out there from the realtor side of the industry. So I follow a lot of them. I think even some mortgage brokers out there that are creating some really engaging, great content. So yeah, I try and follow as many people as I can keep up with and see what they're doing. Yeah.
Well, I love that you brought that up, Travis, because I do agree with you. Not only are realtors and mortgage brokers doing more funny things, but they're also doing more informational things. So, we talk about the market updates, and I mentioned to you, we're featuring Del Val in this and the scorecard. That all came out of more transactional brokerage real estate, right? They've been doing that for a long time. What's the market look like? What's
Yep.
the listings? What's the days on market? By the way, just an idea for you is create some joint content. Find somebody else with a good following, mortgage brokers, title companies, find them and do some joint content together and expand that market. I think you guys will totally capitalize on that. So I want to bring that up. Do you watch real estate agents? That's what they do,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That's great. And other property managers. I also we had a little series a couple of years ago when market updates were really, going big, and especially like, post right on the cusp of the end of the pandemic, where everyone's like, what is happening? Why are home sales so up? And we were encouraging people to do market updates with other property managers. So, you are in Phoenix or Gilbert, you might, partner with somebody who's in Birmingham, and you guys might be like, well, what are you seeing in your market? Here's what I'm seeing in my market. People get fascinated by that kind of stuff. And then I think it cements you as an expert. So these are some of the ideas that I've seen some property managers do, and I'd encourage you to jump on some of those things.
That's so true. I had a recent interaction with another one of your clients, Matt Martin, out of Atlanta, right? And he had posted a market update on what he was seeing in the Atlanta market, and I replied back with what I was seeing in the Phoenix market, and it turned into a nice little conversation about how we could compare two Sunbelt cities, and yeah, maybe in a video form it could have been even more entertaining. So yeah, great idea.
All right, so I want to transition to what I really wanted to talk to you about. My favorite is the humor. So you and your business partner, you are funny guys. Well, let me just say it, not in a bad way. No, I mean like funny ha ha, not like funny weird. You guys are pretty humorous. I've had a good time when we've hung out. And you've been doing that, and it seems like that is your MO. So do you mind just kind of walking me through how do you brainstorm the ideas? Like, are they just natural? Do you just say you're driving in a car together and then you're like, hey, what it would be funny if we did X? Or do you say, hey, it's Monday at 3:30. We got to sit down. We got to come up with some funny ideas. Like, I want to know behind the scenes, like, where do the ideas come from?
Yeah. Well, I would say our first iteration of an idea usually takes place out on a mountain bike trail. Like Brandon and I love to ride bikes together, and that's when we can both clear our minds. So sometimes ride for a couple miles. We'll get to a break stop, and one of us will have an idea in the interim, and we'll brainstorm right there on the spot. And then one of us usually has to write down that quick idea into our phone so we don't forget it. And then when we get back to the office, then we set aside maybe an hour, maybe even a half hour. Maybe we do it during lunch. We like to go get lunch together. And that's just a good time to really nail down that concept that we came up with and create a script out of it. So that's been our creation process so far, is to get inspired out in the wilderness and then come back and put pen to paper and come up with a script that we think would be funny.
I can totally relate to that. You know, when Jordan and I were working closer together from Lead Simple, that's what we would do. We'd be in a normal work lunch, and then someone's like, "Hey, I got this funny idea," and then we'd laugh about it. And then so I do think having some companionship with a collaborator is really helpful, right? Like, so Jordan and I love what is it? Key and Peele. I always get that wrong.
Yeah.
Key and Peele, right? Like, I just imagine those guys getting together. They're gonna come up with so many fun ideas that like neither one of them could ever do on their own. And so I just know that every time Jordan and I get together, we end up like just laughing about some crazy idea. And if we thought it was funny over lunch or drinks or something like that, then we knew it was going to be funny when we actually did it. So I think the collaboration is a really important point. Like, you guys do a lot together. I don't really see a lot of content with just one of you guys. It seems like it's mostly both of you guys. So you guys leaning into that?
Yeah, it is. We've done a couple individual podcasts, but yeah, the vast majority of our content we do together. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's podcasts, but I mean, I'm talking about the humorous content. Most of the stuff you guys have done have really been playing off these. Okay. So all right. So do you have any success stories? Do you have an example or two of something you guys have done that you want to make sure we share with other people?
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most proud of in terms of creativity is we're onto our third episode. We just wrapped filming the third episode of Chaos and Disorder is what we're calling it. And Chaos and Disorder are two characters that we've come up of, like the worst tenants you could imagine. And well, Brandon plays Chaos, I play Disorder, and in these commercials we just play out the worst situation that a self-managing landlord could come to expect if they place the wrong tenant in a home. Because we all know owners have two big concerns, right? Placing the wrong tenant in their home and spending too much on maintenance. So we want to maybe illustrate what happens when you do place a bad tenant in your home and how that can go wrong for you. And then at the end, we sell the pitch that, hey, Home Ladder, we have a proven process where we can avoid tenants like this. So I feel like the audience has really reacted to that well. We just posted a teaser for the third episode on our LinkedIn profile that the third episode just got wrapped filming, and the response from people that have seen it was overwhelming. Like, people that have seen the previous two want to see more. Like, they're demanding more of these commercials. So I think we have to stand out as a young company with limited resources. We have to stop the scroll, right? Everyone is absorbed by, I heard recently, 10,000 ads a day is what we see in a day. So we have to stand out from the crowd and come up with something that people will actually stop on their phone and actually enjoy. So
I love that. So what I took away from Chaos and Disorder was it's just an amazingly effective way to sell the tenant screening aspect. That's what I took away, right? I mean, I know there's a lot more into it, but I, as a third-party observer, thought, whoa, they just made the case for how important tenant screening is in such a fun way. So if I'm sitting down with my spouse, with a business partner, and I'm saying, hey, I think we should use professional management. And they're like, well, why? Well, here's what can go wrong. And we know why we want to sell property management, but we don't really have the tools. And what's interesting when I watch like Chaos and Disorder is like, now I have a fun way to explain it and be like, well, just watch this, right? And so I don't know if you knew that's what you were doing, but that's what I compartmentalized or extracted from watching that. I was like, those guys just sold tenant screening in a way that is going to be unforgettable. So that was my take on it. All right, so we do an episode of that. What does it take? Do you have a third-party service? Is it a bunch of iPhones? Like, walk me through how you're doing this?
Yeah, so we've got a videographer, a local guy that he's just a full-time videographer, and he'll meet us out at a location. We come with the script that we've recreated, but a lot of times we do a lot of improv basically on the scene, because we pick one of our properties that we're managing, and there's always they're always properties that we just recently signed up that are in disarray. So there's always unique things going on at that house that we can quickly script out and create a funny scene from whatever's going on in the existing house. So then we meet at the house, we go room by room, and we decide what scene we're going to film in each room, and then we get after it.
It's amazing. And so do you guys have like a budget for this, or is it just kind of like an ad hoc and it's like we got a great idea, let's call somebody and we pay a one-time thing? Like what walk me, you don't have to give too much detail, but like if I'm another aspiring property manager, like is this crazy expensive? Like what does it take to get into something like this?
Oh no, very affordable. And it's you can pay per piece, or what we agreed to do is we're just going to pay the guy a flat monthly rate to hold ourselves accountable. Like we know we're paying him, so let's get one filming done each week. It motivates us to get out there, get the script done, get on location, and get it done. So yeah.
Amazing. Great. Great. I love it. I have something very similar. I'm a big believer in that kind of accountability. When you're getting a credit card charge or you're writing a check, you're like, well, I'm gonna show up, you know?
Yep.
It's the easiest way for, I mean, it goes to the beginning of time, it goes back to like personal trainers, right? It just was
Yep.
like, hey, I got to show up at the gym because they're going to be there waiting for me.
Yep.
So I love that. I love that piece. All right. So just kind of landing the plane here on this. What's worked? What would you change? What lessons have you learned? Is it, you were very honest with me. This is still a work in progress. But what have you learned so far doing this, and what do you think you're going to do next?
Yeah. So I think, can you ask that one more time?
Yeah, so obviously you were very clear with me that like it's kind of a work in progress, but you had to learn something. Some things are working. I'm guessing you're doing this, and so kind of like a twofold question. What have you learned so far? And then what do you think is next? Where are you going to go with this from here?
Yeah. I oh, let's see.
I mean, it's a big question, so I appreciate the gravity.
Yeah. What have we learned? I think our no, not I think. Well, I know. Well, actually, I do. I think. Uh, I think what we've learned so far. So we've published quite a few things now. We've been 3 months into it. We've put out a lot of videos. We put out a lot of written content. Some have gotten a lot of responses. Other have gotten very little responses, almost no views, basically. Especially our long form podcasts where we're interviewing guests. There's just not a lot of. I guess that's just not real popular yet, right?
Sure. Well, it's only been 3 months, so
Yeah, exactly.
yes,
Yeah.
it's actually really early on. But you are getting feedback. I mean, you were just saying to me, people were like, "Hey, I'm leaning into the next one. I want it." Like, the reason I reached out is because I'm seeing something there. So you're clearly
Yeah.
getting some positive feedback on this.
Yeah. The feedback has definitely been positive. So I think we're going at it about three different ways. One we're trying to inspire people. So there we're interviewing other real estate investors, current clients, aspiring investors. That's one thing. So get the inspiration out there. Why should you be a real estate investor? What's great about it? How do you get that personal and financial freedom that you're trying to achieve? The next thing is education, right? So we've interviewed plumbers, HVAC experts. We just had a lawyer on. We had a constable on talking about how evictions work in Arizona. We've done 2 market updates, so we're testing that out, and that's gotten good response. And then the third thing, which we talked about, is entertainment too. So that's gotten the most response so far, at least positive feedback from people that know us and enjoy the content. We think long term, probably education is what's going to be the most accretive to attracting other investors, right? They want to hear the story about how other investors built their portfolio over time and struggled through the hardships of being a landlord early on and got through it and now have achieved financial freedom. So that's our long term mission is help grow the community of investors out there that believe in real estate, specifically single family homes, and specifically the Phoenix market as a way of attaining financial freedom.
Travis, I think that was an immensely succinct and helpful checklist that I literally thinking like, hey, this is kind of what I've been doing, but I've never heard it put that way. So I wrote down inspiration, education, and entertainment. And I think the reality that I've experienced is a long time ago, I did this really fun experiment where I was going to do a video a day for a year. I
Mhm.
had a marketing agency, and it was Juicy Results. We called it Juicy Bits. And it could be a minute, it could be 5 minutes, and I was gonna do it every day. I did it for 265 days, and I got the flu, and I literally was unable to physically do it. So, but I still did 260 something days of video. And
Yeah.
what was so funny is the bloopers got 100x
Yeah.
views and reactions than the actual call. So I'd invite people in, we'd do things, we'd film a bunch. I had an employee who was very funny, and we had the dog in the office. And so it's like you would do this educational stuff, and it was like, yeah, 10 views, 10 likes, hey, and we get clients out of it. Then you do a
Mhm.
blooper reel and you get, 500 views, like,
Yeah.
and like 70 likes. So it is really interesting. It's always stuck with me. But I love what you said, because it's like people come for the entertainment, maybe. Like they like that's why they're subscribing, that's why they're liking. And then it's this like thankless job that you do a little inspiration, you do a little education, but then that's the guy or girl that calls you and says, I'm ready to do business. Like it was the 6 view video, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I like that was the message I needed to hear. So
Yep.
it's interesting, but the entertainment is almost like um the venture capital backing that's getting people to actually see everything else, but then
Yeah.
it's actually the education or the inspiration that's actually bringing somebody in. That's just my takeaway from doing this for a long time. So
Mhm.
I wanted to share that and see if you agreed with that or had any thoughts on that.
I definitely do agree with that. Another thing we're seeing is like existing clients, right? They are seeing some of our content, and some of them have actually reached out and asked to be guests on our podcast, which I think is amazing. Like
Yeah.
they want to share their story too. They hear another investor, and they want to share their story with the world. Like this is what I struggled through to get where I am, and this is what worked for me. This is what didn't work for me. So we've already had several existing clients reach out and ask to be on the podcast, which is amazing to me. Like since the viewership is so low currently.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'll be honest, I mean, I didn't make this up. I've heard this from many people before me, but there's no better way to get a hold of a prospect than ask them to be on your podcast.
Yeah.
Somebody who's ignoring your sales calls, but then you're like,
Yeah.
hey, would you be on my podcast? And they're like, oh, I'm so glad you emailed me.
Yeah.
You have this great, like, it's literally happened. And
Yeah.
Jordan is one of the people that told me that. Other people have told, like, it does work.
Yeah.
Uh, so I love it. Okay, so tell me about the podcast. What's it called? What's it about? What are you doing on that? Because that is a big part of the social media.
Yeah. So it's called Landlord Confidential, and it's we try and keep it between 30 and 60 minutes long format, where we basically ask both it's real estate investors. We talk to vendors, contractors, lawyers. We had a mortgage broker on there. So anybody related to real estate investments, we'd like to get their feedback on Landlord Confidential and get their learnings and share that with the world.
You doing it monthly, weekly? How often? What's the cadence look like?
We've been filming that weekly. So I think we've released 5 episodes now on YouTube. So yeah.
All right, excellent. So
Yeah.
weekly. So we'll drop links to all of that in this, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then are you doing reels from that? Are you
Yeah.
atomizing that? Like, what are you doing from that?
Yeah, that's the great thing about the long form content, right? You not only get the long form that you can put on YouTube, but then you get the reels that you can put on Instagram and Facebook. And I forgot to mention we're on Twitter, or X. We
Yeah.
put it on X. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun. I know I'm still getting used to calling it X, but X is great. I don't think enough property managers think about that. So Peter Lohman, who I think you know as well, I mean, he's really built a great following, and he showed me that there is truly like an investor community on X, which is interesting. I love that. Okay, so you do the full video once a week. then you're getting some clips. What does that look like? Is that your same video editor? Like, let's talk mechanics, because a lot of people might be reading this or listening to this and being like, that's just a lot more work than I've got time to do. So how do you run a property management company and get all this stuff done?
Yeah, it's a time commitment. We actually dedicate a couple hours twice a week to filming. We have two different videographers, one that does Landlord Confidential primarily, and then the other one that does our short form content and the chaos and disorder type humorous stuff. So two different videographers working on two different types of projects. The great thing about the long form is it requires a lot less preparation up front because it's just me and Brandon sitting at a table asking a guest about their expertise. So we usually do a little bit of pre-work, coming up with a general guideline or a general outline of questions that we want to cover throughout the conversation. But it's really just the filming time to get those produced.
Yeah, that's great. So you and Brandon have to dedicate the time to film, but then you then leverage other people's time and software and everything else to get all that content created. So I think that it's like one of the biggest arguments I hear is, I mean, I'm running a company here, Jeremy. Like I can't do all this stuff, right? But you seem to have a rhythm. I know I obviously have a rhythm with the magazine and everything else. It's like I can dedicate X amount of time and then everything cascades from there. Is that really how you're looking at what you're doing?
It's definitely is. It's a hard block on our calendars and it's reoccurring every week. So we know exactly when it's going to happen. And then I also have corresponding blocks for the preparation for those filmings. So that makes top priority for me right now is content. That's what we're focused on.
Love it. Content lives forever. It reaches people. And I mean, I always try to say that we're just swapping out a different investment. I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, in your property management, where was the time going? Was it buying yellow page ads? Was it in SEO? It was something else, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, it's just this is how information flows. And so it's just a new way to invest that same time and money. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. Yeah. I used to spend my time on managing the PPC campaign, right? Back in my previous company. Like that, I would dive into Google AdWords and look through all of that. So this is actually a lot more fulfilling for me than just paying for clicks. So I love to earn the clicks basically with great engaging content. That's a lot more fulfilling.
And this stuff kind of lives forever. It's just like SEO. It's like the pay-per-click was like, week one of the year was the same as week 52 of the year. And if you didn't do it, you didn't do it. But like this stuff
Yeah.
kind of lives forever, right? And I feel like people call me about being on Jordan's podcast 4 years ago, 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like this stuff does have like a what would you call it? Like an exponential effect
Yeah.
or dividend.
Compound.
Keep,
Yeah.
yeah, compound interest, which we all
Yeah.
love as real estate investors. So,
Yeah.
all right.
I just look at Jordan as I just
Yeah,
finished his 200th episode. Just blew me away that he had done 200 podcasts because I've been a listener since the beginning, and
yeah.
he's been the inspiration for me for the long form content. I love listening to him talk shop with other property managers. Property managers aren't my target market, so I didn't want to have the same sort of guests on, basically the same format of show, but I figured real estate investors, they love to share what they know. Just look at Bigger Pockets and how popular that is, about how everyone loves to just share information about how to be successful.
I think I'm listening to 2 to 3 hours of Bigger Pockets a week, and that's maybe an overindulgent. Luckily, I'm usually doing it while I'm working out, lifting some weights in the garage or going on a walk or something. But I mean, it is true. It is like there is an infinite amount of desire for this content. It was amazing. I was on Jordan's podcast. That's what started Rent Scale. I was on his podcast, running a very similar business, but not being focused on property managers. And I think the next week I had 6 clients. you know
Mm-hmm.
so it's
Yeah.
the power of a platform, just being on Jordan's podcast. So that's what I think you're trying to do, and that's what I think our clients are trying to do. So I know we're getting close to our time. This has already been awesome. I love what you guys are doing. Any kind of looking forward thing, any, don't give away any secret sauce that you're not willing to give away, but what's next, or what are you guys interested in? What are you talking about? What do you think that everybody should be thinking about going forward?
Well, first up, we're gonna we're gonna lean in on the humorous aspect or the entertainment aspect. So we've got a couple more characters dreamed up in our heads of potential characters out there that might be beneficial self-managing landlords out there to experience those characters before they make the same mistakes. The other thing we're going to really lean into, and Brandon and I are both, like I'd said before, neither of us have really been on social media from a personal aspect, but we're going to get a little bit more personal this year and maybe dive into some more personal topics and relate it back to home ladder and to real estate in general. So I think that's an interesting topic. I've seen good results from a couple posts that I've posted recently. One was about I related learning how to mountain bike and starting a new property management company at the same time. And that got amazing engagement out of the audience. They loved the comparison between the two endeavors as we've been learning lessons throughout that. And then also just 1 year into Home Ladder, like what have we learned after starting a property management company? That was another really popular post and got kind of personal on that. So Brandon's he's a father to a son that just turned 1 year old. So he's going to share with the audience of how that's been raising a 1 year old boy while also starting a brand new property management company. So I think that'll be a really engaging post as well.
Yeah, I think that's the secret power for sure. I mean, social media is called that because it's meant to be social, right?
Yep.
And yeah, it's not meant to be a place where we run commercials. It's meant to be a place where we are humans and we relate to other people, we help other people like you're doing on Bigger Pockets, but it's also about sharing your story, which goes back to the inspiration piece that I put down. And so honestly, just in reflection, I can make a I can spend a whole week making the best 4 minutes of sales training content and I can post it, or I can just talk about my frustrations as a business owner and I'm going to get a lot more interaction on the latter. You know what I mean? Because people just want to relate to other people.
Mhm.
And I think you're on the right track. So I'm going to keep watching. Love what you guys are doing. Please don't take away season 2 of Disorder and Chaos because we're all ever since they took down Breaking Bad, it's the only way to fix the same outlet. That's like it's like the Breaking Bad of property management is what I call it.
Okay.
Probably because of the white lightning joke that you made, but that was immediately what I thought of when I watched it.
Yeah.
So yes, please keep doing it. Please keep sharing. I think you guys are inspiring the industry. And I think that you guys should really think about submitting a NARPM talk next year about what you're doing. I think that
Oh,
you guys are ripe to share this information with people.
is NARPM ready for this? I don't know. Like,
There's no way they're ready for it. There's no way, but they need it, and I'm like, if you don't do it, I'm gonna do it and just interview you guys. I'm gonna create a panel. Just be like, I'm gonna pick up my favorite clients that are doing this. But you guys are doing it at a high level, and I can just imagine projecting out 6 months or a year from now. And obviously, hopefully, you're documenting this and you're what's working, what's not. But this is the content that the community needs, which is why I wanted to do this. So you guys are pioneers, man. Just I'm proud of you. I'm excited, and I appreciate you taking the time to share what you're thinking.
well, I think the fact that you called this interview, like, you're the pioneer. Like we started watching your attempts at the live podcast and like struggling through that and like having the technical difficulties and like you've plowed through it. So I've been really impressed with that. And I try and watch every single one that comes across my thing and enjoy every one of them. So well done on your end.
Thank you. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I maybe need to have you on that episode and talk about the same thing we talked about today. So, I think I see this is where it's going to be at, and it's hard because everybody wants to just write a check, just buy a yellow page ad back in the old days. Now that's like, I'll just pay an SEO company. Nobody wants to do the creative work. And I think that's what's going to win going forward. And you guys are doing that. So I'd love to have you on the live show and just share that information.
Okay. Yeah. Love to.
All right.